Good morning, everybody. Matt Moda here to give you my favorite NBA player prop picks today. We're talking Wednesday, November 27th. Massive NBA betting slate we have on tap for us tonight. So I'm going to go through, give you my six. That's right. I think I had seven. I have six picks for you guys to lock in. All six of them are plus money bangers. So as long as we win half our bets, we're making money. But I got a good feeling we're going to do a lot better than that tonight. So hopefully we do. Before we can get into that, we do have to do a recap from yesterday, which ended up being a pretty brutal day. Started off great. Our first bet of the day, cashed first quarter. Thank you, Vooch, for scoring 6 points in the first quarter. I was feeling good. Thought we were going to have a good day. Unfortunately, did not come to fruition. Tyler Hero did not come through on his main line or his ladder play. That one hurt because he needed to score 5 points in the fourth quarter to get to the over 20 and a half, score 21 points. Terry Rozier scored like 14 points in the fourth quarter. He couldn't have given 3 of those to Tyler Hero, who ended up with 18. And then Kevin Durant hooked us. He ended up with 8 rebounds plus assists. And Chris Paul wasn't even close. That one just wasn't close. But ended up being a pretty tough day overall, down over 2.5 units. That now brings our losses on the year back down to the over 5 unit mark. We were getting close. I thought we were going to get to a point where we were breaking even or even be positive on the year. Hasn't quite been that way, but with a massive 6 pick card tonight, we sweep the board tonight. We're green for the year. Let's hope that happens. Appreciate everybody who has been rocking with me this year. I know it's been not nearly the same level of success as last year, but confident that, once it hits January 1st, 2025, we're going to be well within our green, well within our way on the year of having a good year. So I'd appreciate everybody like the video, comment, and then if you're not already, if you could subscribe. But let's get into these bangers. As I mentioned, I got 6, so let's go through these as quickly as I can because I do love to talk about these matchups. But play number 1, and I'm just going in order of odds, least to greatest in terms of like the best odds versus all that stuff. So Kings Timberwolves, play number 1. Nas Reid over 13.5 points, plus 102 odds at FanDuel. This is just an excellent matchup for Nas Reid against the Kings defense that is like perfect in terms of what they give up, and you line that up for where Nas Reid scores. I also like this because Nas Reid and the Timberwolves played in a back-to-back. This is the second leg, I should say, of a back-to-back. They played last night. That game went into overtime. So they had guys like Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, each played 40-plus minutes, where Nas Reid had a much more normal 27-minute game yesterday, so maybe they rely on Nas Reid a little bit more than normal. And I think they already would do that because this is the perfect matchup for Nas Reid over a guy like Rudy Gobert. Overall, Nas Reid, and he's having a good year. He scored 14 or more points in 10 of 17 games. 9 of those, he actually scored 15 or more, so if you wanted to be a little bit bold, take 15 plus, you could do that. And then you look at, of the 7 games that he missed, one game he scored exactly 13 points, and then another game he scored, another game he scored exactly 12 points. So twice he came within 1 bucket away, and then only once he would have hooked on the positive side. So it scored 14 and stuff like that. So it's been a pretty good year for Nas Reid. That also includes 2 games against the Kings in which he scored 19 and 16 points, easily going over in both games. And another point to the argument, if you wanted to take the 15 plus, and if you look at like the matchups and the play types and stuff, it's not surprising that Nas Reid has had success against the Kings. Nas Reid scores the majority of his points via spot ups, and the Kings give up the most points in the NBA via spot ups, literally number 1. Teams run a ton of success against the Kings, teams run a ton of spot ups against the Kings, and they have a ton of success doing so. And to go one step further than that, Nas Reid takes the majority of his shot attempts from the above the break 3-pointer. The Kings have the 3rd worst defense in the NBA guarding the above the break 3-pointer. The reason why I like this for Nas Reid is because the majority of those come from catch and shoot. So if you look at the catch and shoot versus pull-up numbers for the Kings, they allow a lot more catch and shoot than pull-ups. Reid, he takes the most catch and shoot 3-point attempts on the Timberwolves. So obviously you make a bunch of 3-pointers, that's only going to help your overall scoring. That's play number 1. Play number 2, we're heading to the Clippers-Wizards game. We're taking Ivica Zubac over 16.5 points, plus 104 odds at FanDuel. Another just incredible matchup here, a smash matchup. Really, whenever you can take a center point prop against the Wizards, you're probably going to want to do that. The Wizards allow the most points per game in the entire NBA to centers. We targeted a center prop last night. Vooch, in the first quarter, he came through for us. And you look at where the Wizards defense is weak, which is a lot of places. It comes as no surprise that they allow the most points per game in the NBA to centers. You go to propsmadness.com, which is a website that I love to use. It shows you what play types in which that player scores the majority of his points, like first, second, third, fourth, all that. You go to Props Madness, you look at Ivica Zubac. It's like a Christmas tree when you look at where he scores and how that lines up to the Wizards. It's green lit up, I should say. Lit up green like a Christmas tree. And we can just go through it. Green equals good, I should say. Zubac scores the majority of his points via post-ups. The Wizards allow the third most points per game via post-ups. Next up, the category in which he scores, technically the third most because the second most is off of cuts, and we don't have any defensive data on cuts. But third most is as the pick and roll rollman. The Wizards also allow the third most points per game to pick and roll rollman. Next up from there, putbacks, offensive rebounds. The Wizards allow the fourth most points per game via putbacks. Next up is free throws. The Wizards allow the second most points per game via free throws, meaning they foul at like the second highest rate in the NBA. That's 4 of the top 5 ways in which Zubac scores, makes up like 90% of his shot profile. The only one that I left out was, again, cuts, because NBA.com doesn't give us defensive data off of like what teams allow off of cuts. I'm guessing that the Wizards, knowing what we know, are probably bad at guarding cuts. I just can't actually say that because I don't have the numbers to back it up. But overall, take a little bit of a step back. Zubac scores 60% of his points in the restricted area. The Wizards allow the 7th most made baskets in the restricted area, but allow the 3rd highest field goal percentage in that area as well. Just a terrible defense. Great matchup for where that defense is terrible. That's play number 2. Third pick, Nuggets versus Jazz. Christian Braun, 15 plus points, plus 105 odds at DraftKings. Third pick of the evening, I'm sure you could guess. Another awesome matchup play, which is what I try to do, just target the best matchups. Christian Braun against the Jazz. Braun's had a pretty good year overall for the Nuggets. I don't really think that the books are quite reflecting that in how they price his point props, especially when you consider the fact that Aaron Gordon has been out for a while and he's still out for this game. It's been 9 games now that Aaron Gordon has missed. In those 9 games, Christian Braun has scored 15 or more points in 6 of those 9 games, which is a very, very nice number, 66% of the time. But not only that, not only has he scored 15 or more in 6 of 9 games, but twice he would have hooked us with exactly 14 points. In another game, he scored exactly 13 points. So that means in all 9 games without Aaron Gordon, Christian Braun scored at least 13 points in all 9 of them. He scored at least 14 points in 8 of those 9, and that just represents an excellent floor for someone that we need to get to 15. And that's not even talking about the matchup. Like, he's done that in good matchups, bad matchups, whatever. He's getting you at least 13, 14, 15 points. And as I mentioned, this is an excellent matchup against a bad Jazz defense. Overall, the Jazz have the 3rd worst defensive net rating in the entire NBA. And they're perfect for an off-ball guy like Christian Braun. Like, the way the Jazz play defense, they're pretty aggressive, limiting points to the pick-and-roll ball handler. They allow like the 5th fewest points per game to the pick-and-roll ball handler. Where they're weak is guarding off-ball actions. And Christian Braun is more of an off-ball guy, spot-up, transition. He actually scores the most points of his, in terms of play type, the most of his points come via transition. And the Jazz have the worst transition defense in the entire NBA. They're a great matchup for shooting guard point props. These 2 teams played earlier this year. Christian Braun scored 17 points, and that was with Aaron Gordon in that game. Granted, Jamal Murray missed, but still, without Aaron Gordon, or with Aaron Gordon, without Jamal Murray, he scored 17 points. He averages about over 15 points per game without Aaron Gordon. It's just an excellent matchup on Christian Braun. That's play number 3. Now we're looking at play number 4. Bulls versus Magic. Franz Wagner, 30 plus points, plus 105 odds at Bet365. For those of you that aren't super into the NBA, super in the know, this might seem like a high number for Franz Wagner, 30 plus points only at plus 105. But he's been really, really good since Paolo Banchero got hurt, and he's been really, really good in the last 10 games specifically. Banchero's been out for about a month now, but you look at the last 10 games specifically for Franz Wagner, he's averaging just over 27.5 points per game, and in exactly half those games, he scored 30 plus points. So he's done it in 5 of 10. One game he went under, he scored exactly 29, which would be brutal. We've gotten a ton of hooks this year. That's part of the reason why we've had such a bad year. We've had way more hooks than we have this year than we did last year, which that unfortunately happens, just the nature of the beast. It would just suck if that happened tonight. But the usage rate in the last 10 games for Franz Wagner, 32.1%, which I get, like, that just sounds like a number. What does that mean? To put that into context for you, that's the same usage rate as someone like Luka Doncic. Usage rate just means a possession that ends in either him getting fouled or him putting a shot up. Doing that at the same rate as Luka is pretty good, showing you he has the ball in his hands a ton. And he's got a great matchup against the Bulls defense that is very much not good. 4th worst defensive net rating in the NBA, but the most important thing here, the Bulls play at the fastest pace in the NBA. They're just a beautiful defense to target for player props because they're really bad and they play super fast. That just leads to a lot of stat accumulation against them. Normally, when we see a Bulls game, we want to target the point guard assist prop against them. Magic are a weird team. They don't have like a traditional point guard who just like runs normal offense. It's normally Franz Wagner, but he obviously doesn't have the same passing profile as a normal point guard. So I think it makes more sense to take his points because it's a really good matchup for him to score. The Bulls allow the 9th most points per game to pick and roll ball handlers. That's the play type in which Franz scores the majority of his points. Now the Bulls allow a lot to the roll man, but the Magic don't have a typical roll man. It'd be like Wendell Carter, but he's not typical like a Clint Capella rim running type of guy that you would think of, which is again why we're going with Franz points. Transition is where Franz scores the 2nd majority of his points in terms of a play type. The Bulls allow the 5th most points per game via transition. But overall, the Bulls have the worst defense in the NBA regarding the restricted area. That's where Franz scores the majority of his points, is in the restricted area. So it's a great matchup for him from that perspective. You know, these two teams played earlier this year while Banchero was healthy. Banchero scored 31 points. Another similar player is Brandon Ingram, who scored 33 points against the Bulls. His over-under was 21.5, so he smoked his over. Really good play on Franz Wagner to get us to 30-plus points. Next up, play number 5. We're getting to the end here. Thunder versus Warriors game. I'm taking Isaiah Hartenstein, 10-plus rebounds, plus 115 odds at bet 365. Another classic system play here, taking center rebound props against the Warriors. You might not, you wouldn't think of it, because when you think of the Warriors, you think of them as like this just high-flying, running around, not high-flying, like just like high-volume, jump shooting type of team, running off of screens, firing up a bunch of three-pointers. So you wouldn't think of them logically as a team to target for center rebound props, but the Warriors are allowing the most rebounds per game to centers, literally number 1. And it's not a total surprise when you look into it. Like the Warriors take the 6th most shots in the NBA within 5 feet from the basket. Shot attempts that are attempted close to the basket leads to more rebounds to centers as opposed to guards, because the closer the shot is, the closer it like doesn't careen as far off the rim, leading to more rebound opportunities to centers. The Warriors also don't really have a traditional center, so they don't really have anybody that's going to contend with the opposing team center. They allow a lot of offensive rebounds too, which obviously just helps this prop. In Hartenstein, at least with the Knicks, was a very good offensive rebounder. And you look through game logs, 7 of the last 8 centers against the Warriors have gone over their rebound prop. And a lot of them have gone over by multiple rebounds. It's not like they're just barely getting it on the hook or anything like that. Zubac, 17 rebounds. His over-under was 12.5. Clint Capella, 10 rebounds. His over-under was 8.5. Last game, Zaire Williams, who's not really a traditional center, had 10 rebounds. His over-under, I think, was 7.5. Now, Hartenstein's only played 2 games coming back from the injury. He's played around 30 minutes in both those games, with his minutes going. He played more minutes in the second game than the first game, which is a good sign. They're ramping him up. And he grabbed 10 rebounds in both of those games. He had 14 in one. He had 10 in another. More importantly than that, he had 18 rebound chances in those 2 games. For a center like for him, he's not like Brook Lopez. He doesn't have a lot of deferred rebounds. If the rebound's close, he's going to go up and get it. So 18 rebound chances is well enough for him to get to 10 actual rebounds. Very confident he grabs 10 boards tonight. Now we're on to play 6, our final pick of the video. Tyrese Maxey, 25 plus points, plus 130 odds at bet 365. Last pick of the evening, backing a player on probably the saddest team in the NBA this year, my Philadelphia 76ers. But I think this is a really, really good spot on Tyrese Maxey. Like, your initial thoughts when you see this is, well, 25 seems way too low for Maxey. And I get why it seems too low. I also get why the books have it priced that way. Like, I don't think that this is like a fishy line or anything like that. Number one, the Rockets don't have a terrible defense. They don't play at a super fast pace, so it's not like you want to target the Rockets defense. And Maxey has struggled a little bit since coming back from a hamstring injury, and he's been slow rolled in returning as well. But his minutes have also been starting to creep up. Like his first game back from the hammy, he only played 20 minutes. After that, he played 27. Then he played 29. So projections for this game have him for about 33. That would be plenty for him to score 25 points if we're getting 33 minutes. He could, as long as he plays like 29, I'm good with that. And of the 3 games since he came back from injury, he scored 26 points in one of those 3. The other 2 he went under. One of them he scored 26. So it's not like he just hasn't been able to do anything. Since coming back from injury, his shots are admittedly, like, his field goal rate is pretty low. So if he's able to get his legs under him, where he's due for some positive regression there. But I'm just not scared of this matchup against the Rockets. The Rockets can give it up to the guard position. You look at the top two ways in which Maxey scores, either as a pick and roll ball handler or via isolation. Now, in terms of the pick and roll ball handler, the Rockets are middle of the pack. They're not a defense you'd be scared of. They're also not a defense you would target for pick and roll ball handlers, but they give up the second most points per game via isolation. And really, the biggest matchup advantage for Maxey against the Rockets is the Rockets allow the most pull-up three-point attempts in the entire NBA. Number one. And they allow second highest frequency of shots against them be from pull-up three-point range, allowing the most attempts. Maxey's taken the fifth most pull-up three-point attempts in the entire NBA. He's become a very, very good pull-up shooter. I thought about laddering this one up to 30-plus points, especially because the Rockets are coming off of an overtime back-to-back game. So maybe tired legs makes them not nearly as good on defense. But I decided to just go with the 25-plus. If I found something a better year, I'd feel a lot more confident going up to 30. But we'll just leave it at 25-plus. And we'll just leave it at that. That's 6 plays for you guys to lock in. Remember to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.